Steve Stine from GuitarZoom here, and today we're going to be looking at Silent Night for our Steve songs. Since, of course, the holiday seasons are coming in, it's a really fun one to try and utilize for your fingerpicking skills. Now, what I want to do is I want to make this as easy as possible for you because there's a lot of different things that you could do with this depending on how difficult or how simple you want it to be. But the most important thing is understanding what chords we have and being able to play bass notes along with the melody. So we're basically going to be using G and C and D throughout this entire song, okay? So we're going to start off on G, and what I want to show you is how the bass and the melody are going to interact through this entire piece, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about the embellishment aspect, okay? So we're starting off with a G. We're going to be playing a 4-finger G, although we do not need the pinky and we do not need the first finger. What we need are the middle finger on the 6th string and the ring finger on the 2nd string. So our melody is going to go... So I'm playing 3 on the 2nd string, 0 on the 1st string, and then back to 3 on the 2nd string. And what I'm going to do is put in a bass note, which is the G, on the first and last ones. And then I'm going to do that again. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a D chord, but my melody is going... So I have to reach out to the 5th fret and then the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So with this D chord, you might be able to reach that just fine. For me, I cannot do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refinger this D chord like this. I'm going to bar, put my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Then I can use my pinky out here. I'm going to play my bass note, which is D. And then I'm going to drop down. And I'm going to play the traditional D, which is the 2nd fret right there. Again, bass note on the first and the last. And then we're going to go to a G chord again, 4-finger G. This time I'm going to play, my melody is going... So I'm going 3, 3, and then 3 on the 2nd string. Again, bass note, G, on the first and the last one. Okay, then I'm going to move over to a traditional C chord, and on this C... Okay, so I'm playing 0, 0, 3 on the 1st string, using my pinky there. And I can play the bass note again on the first and the last. And then what I'm going to do is take my 1st finger, which is not in play right now because I'm not playing the 2nd string at this point. I'm going to move that over to the 2nd fret of the 1st string. And I'm going to play 2, 0. So that's the next part of that melody. And then I go back to the beginning. Then I go back to that C and do that again. Back to the G. Okay, now things get a little more difficult. It's all going to be based off a D chord to begin with here. And what's happening there is I'm playing a D, and then I'm going up to the 5th string bar chord of a D, and I'm using the 7th fret. Okay, where that 3rd finger would normally be for your bar chord, I'm playing 7, 7, 7. Okay, and then I'm adding an 8th fret for my melody. Let me show you the melody first. So we're going... So I'm going 5, 5, 8. And then I'm going to head over here to the 10th fret of the 2nd string and the 8th fret, or 7th fret, excuse me, like that. Okay, so over this D chord... Now, all I really need is the bass note in the 5th fret here. And then I'm going to move up to those 7s, play that 8th fret. So you'll notice my bass note now, in this particular case, is going to be the 7th fret of the 4th string. And then pinky on 10, and then I'm barring over those 7s. So I have... Now remember this shape though, because when we come back and embellish, these are some of the things that you could utilize in your finger picking. And then I'm going to drop down to a G, and my melody is going... So what I like to do is I'll just make a regular G chord there, and then go up. And you'll notice the bass note for G is G, although sometimes I'll play, you know, the D if I don't have time to get to a full G chord, if I just want to play the bottom of this G, because I'm coming from here. I might just drop down like that. You see? But if you can go to a full G, you can hit that bass note. And then when I move up to this 7, I'm just playing 7 and 4 there and leaving these strings open. And then we end with... So what's happening there is I'm playing this G chord. So I'm playing 3, 3, 0, bass note on the first one. And then I end with this melody. So 3, 1, 2, 0. And when I go to that, I'm going to a D chord here. So I can play the 4th string as my bass note and the 2nd string as my melody. And that D chord or that D note is still ringing out, and then I can go to my G. So I'm playing G as a bass, and then the 3rd string, which is also G, and letting those ring out together. Okay? So that's how the melody would go. So the first thing you'd want to do is really try and get that part of it in your head. Do it again. You got your D on 5 and 2. Then G, 3 and 3. Then your C, and then you're beginning again. Go back. Back between C and G. Then you head to this D that moves up to G. Okay. Now you could have stayed on and did the G bass note there. I'm just making it easy by going to the note D there instead of the note G as my bass note. It's still a G chord. And then I end with... All right, so what would we do for embellishment? Well, there's a couple of different things that we could do. The easiest thing is to remember that when you start embellishing, what you're really doing is you're just filling space with notes that are inconsequential. And what I mean by that is if you create a melody, like you don't want to start playing all over the melody and screw up what the melody sounds like. So the general consensus is what you're going to do is always embellish either below the melody or adding in the last note of that melody, but not really ever going higher than it. So if I played the beginning here, for instance, on a G chord, the last note of that phrase is a 0. So when I go to embellish, I might use, one of those or 2 of those or 3 of those notes that are part of the G chord, okay? But they're not getting in the way of the melody. And you see, the embellishment, all it's really doing is adding some stuff in the empty spaces that you're playing. So if I was playing something like what I did in the beginning, you'll notice I'm playing a little bit faster. I'm adding more stuff, but I'm just adding around. So what you want to do is think about the easiest way to be able to add some things without screwing up what you've learned. Again, I would start with learning the bass note and the melody and just really get that framework developed. And then start thinking if you want to add something very simple like... And we got our D. Maybe just a couple of notes at the end is fine. That doesn't really have a lot of room. Although you can add in between. You see, if you want to. My point is I just want to make it fun for you and approachable, and then once you've got it, then you can start trying to figure out how to make it more complex if you choose to do that. All right, so anyway, thank you so much. Please do me a favor, like, share, very much share, and subscribe to whatever channel you're on right now. And do me a favor, head over to guitarzoom.com and check out our all-access membership. I would sure appreciate that. And take care, and stay positive, and keep practicing, of course, okay?